once you collab with someone like Toby, it just opens your mind. But you need to have your mind open in the first place to
absolutely
allow it. At the core of everything that we're doing with Lightning in the Bottle, one word: music. So with Lightning in the Bottle, we're offering you the opportunity to get into the studio with Toby and produce music. We're offering the opportunity to co-write with Toby and many other opportunities. So Toby, over to you. Let's hear about it.
Okay, yeah, great. Well, I mean, I'm excited about this because I think one thing that seems to be it's dogged me all of my career really is that whole thing is that people think, oh, hang on, he must be really busy. I'm not going to ask him if he wants to co-write. And you know, I've often sort of ended up in situations where I have co-written with people and they've gone, oh man, we could never expected someone like you to come and write with us or to even be interested in producing my band or whatever else. And I say, well, it's because no one asks. Yeah. So a big part of Lightning in the Bottle for me is this kind of, it's like pulling back the curtain on the wizard. You know, I'm just a musician just like you. Yes, I've been in this game 30 years, and yes, I've had some success and all the rest of it, but I'm still completely in love with music. I'm still completely in love with the process of creating music with people. It's so much a people business. It's so much a human experience, this whole thing, that it cannot be replaced. There is no computer program, there is no plugin that will ever replace the actuality of human beings working together on music to create something wonderful. And so the idea for me of co-writing with bands and musicians at any level is really enticing because, you know, it's a unique process. I mean, I've often been blown away with young musicians that I've met and worked with where I just think, oh my God, I couldn't write like that. I can't come up with those ideas. But what I can do through my experience of working with so many co-writers over the years is help guide you as to try and figure out other ways of doing it. And being in a co-write situation, when you get excited together and you have that fun element and you have that joy of creating together, it's amazing what can happen and what great ideas can start to flow. And so that's my sort of emphasis is to galvanise your resolve, if you like, to sort of become a better writer. And so I can bring that. You know, I've written with many people. One of the greatest things that ever happened to me, Rob, was when I first got signed as a published artist. When the Little Angels got signed, we were signed by Lucian Grange to Polygram Music. And Lucian's first words to me were, right, you're going to go out and co-write with people. And I was quite precious about it, so I don't want to do that, you know, this is my music and all the rest of it. But the reality is I went and worked with Hugh Cornwell from the Stranglers, ended up working with, you know, Jim Vallance, who wrote a lot of stuff for Aerosmith and for Bryan Adams, and loads of other people in between. And I still do it to this day. And every experience I've carried forward into my career as a writer, and it's informed me every step of the way. And so I think if I can bring that to you, and no matter what level you're at, and it helps you to discover yourself as a writer, that's one of the most, I think that'll be an absolute joy. So we're offering that out. I mean, obviously, you know, we've got the submission forms, and we haven't mentioned submission forms yet, have we, on these conversations?
It's all on the website. If you go to the music production and co-writing, the songwriting, there's a form that you can fill in, so we can learn more about you. And we'll get back to you from there. But the key thing that Toby's talking about there is opening up these possibilities that until you actually collab with someone, can I use collab? Collaborate with someone. Collab.
I'm liking collab.
Collab. Once you collab with someone like Toby, it just opens your mind. But you need to have your mind open in the first place to
absolutely
allow it.
I mean, I think one of the problems I've encountered, which we've talked about before, is that there is a reluctance, you know, for specifically young artists who haven't been through this process before, to not want to do it because they think they're going to have their toes trodden on by, and, you know, etc. Well, that's not the point. The point is co-writing should be fun. So that's I think that could be great fun. So if you're interested in that, please just check that section out on the website. Drop us a submission form, and you know, and we'll see what we can do.
Absolutely, yes.
And then the next bit that then progresses on from there naturally is kind of, you know, a big part of what I do in my life is producing bands. I've spent a specialist amount of time. I specialise in producing young artists and trying to help bands redevelop themselves from a production point of view. And so that's been offered out. We've got 3 packages for that. We've got a package where you can pay to have me work on 1 or 2 songs over a very short period of time, sort of 3 to 4 days. The next stage up from that is an EP project, which can be 4 to 5 songs. But the Motherlode is the album. The Motherlode is working with me for, I think it works out at about 2 to 3 weeks, something of that nature, where you work in a very intensive fashion. You go through the whole pre-production process where I analyse and help figure out where we're going to go with the arrangements, and then we take you into a studio. I use a studio in Worcestershire called Vale exclusively, which is a Neve room. It's a beautiful studio. It's a fantastic engineer there, Christiada, who's a good friend of mine, and we go into a proper production. It's not this whole idea that you can create rock music or any kind of music in your bedroom. I mean, okay, dance music's a slightly different thing, that's programming. But in terms of trying to create live orientated performance capture music, that can't be done in a bedroom or in a local rehearsal room.
Absolutely not. Being in a room together, especially in a studio, is such a creative time. I mean, you've done the pre-production, you've got the foundations of the song, and you bring it into the studio, and it just blows your mind at what you can do, and the ideas that come out. And I've seen it firsthand with Toby through a few bands that we've worked on together, where we've taken a band from a certain stage and then essentially reinvented into something that is a lot stronger. And it goes from being that bit of music that you might just sort of skip by on Spotify because it sounds like a lot
like
of
everybody else or whatever else,
to something that makes you stop and go, what is that? And okay, it might be a bit Marmite or whatever reason, but if it makes you stop and pay attention,
it's unique.
It's unique.
What we're looking for is that unique you. I want to try and find, if you get as far as wanting to have me produce some music for you in a real studio, then let's not no bones about it. Going into a studio with me is tough. It's a challenge. It'll be unlike anything you've been through before, because I am a tough taskmaster, but I do it for all the right reasons. But it's also a joy. If you can't have fun with it, if you can't go into the studio and have fun with your music, what is the point? But at the same time, it's hard work. Making great music is hard work. It's, I like lots of takes. I try and steer away completely from tuning anything via any of the tuning packages on software, the software tuning packages. I don't cut and paste anything. You have to be able to play. This is the whole point. I want to get bands back to understanding it's got to be about being great on your instrument and getting it right. Finding out why the flaws are there and fixing the flaws. But sometimes even leaving the flaws in. Because half the problem I find with modern production is that people actually get rid of all the human.
It's all clinical.
Exactly. They clean everything, and I don't do that. So this is very much a visceral human experience that will take you from the band you were to the band you can be. Let's
just cut to the chase here. The greatest albums of all time were made because the artist was very talented. So let's talk about quickly Van Halen, the first Van Halen
example
album.
Yeah, great example.
And then let's talk about a band like Aerosmith and their 1989 album Pump.
Incredible.
So both of those bands, they would have been put in the nicest way possible through the ringer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everything would have been critiqued. They would have had Aerosmith, for example, John Kolodner, A&R guy, very well known. He would go in and he would, for the love of the music, he would critique it, and he would look at it through the eyes of other music. He would look at it through the eyes of the label. Is this good enough to take to the label? Yeah, and if it wasn't, you'd have to go away and write new songs.
And he was pushing them. I mean, Aerosmith, by the time they came to make Pump, I think it was maybe I can't remember, maybe their 9th album or something, so they were well down the line, and you would have thought that they wouldn't take that criticism. Well, what's wonderful about what happened with that situation with Pump and Aerosmith is that they took on board, and they were just as passionate as they were when they were young men, and they want to get it right. They want to find out how they can push themselves forward, how they can create those great songs. And that process, it cannot be replaced. That can't be replaced with software. That can't be replaced with technology. That's about human beings writing and creating great music. I mean, Van Halen that you mentioned earlier on, very good example. I mean, there's a band that had played across the whole of California for years before they really entered the studio. They were a party band. They used to actually play at pool parties. That was their whole thing. And they used to play cover versions, and then they used to throw in one of their own songs. But what they were doing is they were learning on the job, because they weren't the kind of band, just like we weren't when we were young men. There was no possible chance that you could go in an amazing studio when I was first making music. No. There weren't computers that you could everyone could have on a laptop in a bedroom somewhere, and you can take it down rehearsal rooms and just put a mic in front of yourselves. That didn't exist. And so the learning curve there was actually learning to play live and to build yourselves up to a point where you made a little bit of money from a couple of gigs, or you borrowed money from your mum and dad and you went in a demo studio. But it was never at the quality of recording in a major studio. And I think Van Halen are a good example of an American version of that, where they worked and worked and worked and worked, and eventually they went and made their first album. And when they went in to make that first album, they were so good that they just recorded the whole thing, I think, in a week, wasn't it? A week. And so, you know, there are two sides to the coin there. You know, there's that need to be a great band, learning on the job, learning as a live act, and then being able to take it into the studio. And then there's that other side of the coin, which is understanding that studios are, especially the studios I use, are a world apart from just doing it in your bedroom, etc. So this experience, this production experience that we are offering out here is unique, is relatively old school, but I actually call it I think it's the new school, really, because we're returning full circle back to the need for the quality, for it to be performance driven. And that's what we want to offer.
From an industry point of view, if we're talking about media, press and media, this is what they're looking for. They're looking for the uniqueness, because we've had this love affair with nostalgia for... I can probably pinpoint it back to about 2001, 2002.
As I say, good 10 years, maybe longer.
Longer than that. It's now over. You heard it here first. It's now over. We need to stride forward, and we strongly believe what we're doing is going to help that movement shift forward.
And a massive part of that's going to be in the production, because we have to. We have to recognise, we have to help you recognise where that unique thread comes from, help you focus it, help you drive that be your driving reason that you want to go in the studio and make some amazing music. And if we can do that, if that really can be achieved, then you really do have a genuine chance of getting out of the white noise. Because we use this a lot, this term white noise. The internet has now become an absolute white noise arena. It's very, very hard. I mean, yes, there's some great stuff out there. Of course there is. You're maybe it. But we want to figure that out with you and get back to the nuts and bolts of what it means to make great records, from writing great songs, for being a great band.